Welcome to today's podcast. My name is Rourke Perry. My podcast today, and the idea that we're going to be focusing on is creating an inclusive PE environment through the use of visual aids for students with disabilities. I've been working on this podcast and project alone throughout the last couple weeks, and throughout this podcast today, I'm going to talk about how visual aids are a great way to help support students with disabilities. Also, I'm going to give some different examples of visual aids that we can use to help support students with disabilities in the PE classroom. Visual aids for students with disabilities is a great way to help support them because it leads to them understanding tasks and rules and even boundaries at their own level. We want students to be able to learn at their level, and they may not be at the level as everyone else in the classroom. This makes it so students with disabilities can feel comfortable and safe in the environment that they are in, and this is super important as a PE teacher to make sure all students feel comfortable in our space, especially students with disabilities. Some examples of some visual aids for students with disabilities that we can use in the PE setting are visual schedule. A routine is very important for some students. Knowing what they're going to do and how they're going to do it every day when they come in is very important. And if we have it a visual for them so they can learn it and see it every day, that can definitely benefit them. Another thing we can do is a visual timer. Some students with disabilities may need more time or less time, and it's very important that they know that. And I think that if you give them a timer, it could be a little better for them. Task images, just how to do a task, how to do a skill, maybe how to do an activity. We can have this for them so they understand it better, because they may not understand when you give the direction in class. Also, we can have visual communication, just simple words that the teacher's saying that the student may not understand right away. We can also have an image of some rules so they understand the rules of the classroom. Maybe they didn't understand it before. But these are just some of the ones we could do. There's a lot more, but these were just the ones that I got when I was doing my research. But after looking into some more data, I saw that University of Auburn did a study on students with disabilities on how visual aids would affect them in the classroom with different things. And after looking into the data more, it showed that it worked very well for the students they did it on. The results indicated that the use of visual support in an inclusive physical education environment for students with autism, it increased their time on task from 36.70% to 63.40%. Their time off task decreased from 29.88% to 15.23%. And their assisted task behavior decreased from 33.43% to 21.39%. This data showed that when students when visual aids are applied into the classroom with students with disabilities, it helped increase their time on task and time off task. This is super important because we want every student to have the same amount of time in the classroom working on skills and different activities. And the use of visual aids can help support the students with disabilities, not just to stay on task, but to help them better understand a task that you are asking for them to do. Visual aids can play a big role in the help of students with disabilities, and I feel that there's no harm in letting the students try it out and seeing if it works. It worked for these students very well in the University of Auburn study, but it may not work for your student, but there's no hurt in trying. Not everything works for every student, but the data definitely showed that it worked. So I think that why not give it a try, see if it works for your student. If it doesn't, then you find another plan. But I think that the use of visual aids is a very important thing. Not even for students with disabilities, but I think for every student, but especially in this way, we're focused on students with disability. I think it's a great way to try it, see if it works for them. If it doesn't, then you move to another thing. But through the data that shows from this report, it definitely works. It can work, and it depends on how you implement it. But also, as a teacher and future teachers, we want to help every student grow no matter where they are in our class. And this is one way that I think that we can help the students with disabilities, because students with disabilities may be learning at their own level. They could be a little behind. They could be way behind from the class. So I think visual aids definitely helps them because you can put them at their level. You can kind of slow things down for them. You could speed it up if it needs to be sped up, but you can definitely, with not being one-on-one with that student always, if they may not need that one-on-one, it almost gives them that one-on-one thing they need to kind of push them along in your class. But we can use visual aids also throughout class activities, warm-ups, with directions, and even leaving and entering the classroom. we can do visual aids for all these different things. There's different ways and different pictures and different models you can use. But these are all great things that you can use for visual aids to help students with disabilities. So that is all I have for today's podcast on creating an inclusive PE environment through the use of visual aids. I hope that you learned a lot from the examples that I gave and from the study that I showed, and that I hope that one day you'll try using visual aids in your classroom to make it an inclusive environment for all. And thank you so much. Have a good day.